Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Ord. We are breaking down an early preview on Tuesday of the Falcons' upcoming matchup with the Lions as they hope to move to 3-0. Alex, you pointed out the Lions are dealing with a lot of injuries. The Falcons, on the other hand, look to be relatively healthy. We should get Troy Anderson back to start at linebacker. Hopefully, we get Jeff Okudah back to face his former team and the Lions. And it seems like just a matter of when that Cordell Patterson will always into. So as far as injuries on the Falcons side, they've remained very healthy, I would say, for an NFL team across the league, which is huge. And the Lions are dealing with a number of injuries. Talk about those.
Yeah, before I get into that, I do want to point out, pretty poetic. Jeff Okudah makes his Falcons debut against his old team. You know, that is a storyline to watch for. But on the other side, I don't know how the Falcons keep doing this. It seems like the Falcons have, had really, really good injury luck. And before I get into the Lions, I want to talk about even last week, the Packers without Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, and David Bakhtiari. Those are three of their top five players probably. Elton Jenkins, one of their best offensive linemen, also went down. But even dating back to last season, the Falcons' best game came against Marcus Mariota, actually won NFC Offensive Player of the Week against the 49ers. That 49ers team that went to the NFC Championship. But they were without Arik Armstead, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, and others. So it seems like the Falcons just made a deal with the devil. I don't know. The injuries are just on our side. And it's the same thing this week. CJ Gardner-Johnson, everybody's favorite Saint. He looks like he's torn his pectoral muscle, so he's probably certainly out. David Montgomery said that he was going to be out for a couple weeks, but Dan Campbell came out and said he was day-to-day with a thigh bruise. I don't know. That's a little weird. I don't want to mess up this guy's name. He's their starting right guard. His last name is Vaitai, I believe. He is going to miss significant time with a knee injury. James Houston fractured his ankle. He's an outside linebacker. Kirby Joseph, he's a safety. He left the game last week against the Seahawks with a hip injury, but he is on track to play. Still, that's three starters right there that are probably not going to play this week, and they're big-time starters. CJ Gardner-Johnson is one of the best safety nickels in the league, and he would have likely drawn Kyle Pitts in a lot of different matchups. So, and our article should be up on the site by now. Go check it out, Sports Talk ATL. Kyle Pitts is in line to have a very big game. Listen, the only reason he hasn't had a big game is because it's matchup based. So this past week, you saw Drake London, 6 catches, 67 yards, a touchdown. It was his time. His number was called. Bijan Robinson's number is going to get called every single week, so we don't have to talk about that. But I think this week, the Lions linebackers gave up 14 receptions on 14 targets for like 180 yards last week against the Seahawks. Pete Carroll, called out his tight ends and said, y'all did a great job getting open. Look for Kyle Pitts this week. I think this is the week that he could really, return back to the NFL. I'm talking, close to 100 yards, a touchdown, that kind of performance. Injuries, they're all on our side this week.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts, we talked about him and Drake London. Obviously, Drake London had a decent game, 6 receptions for 67 yards last week, but yeah, you got to get Kyle Pitts more involved. Especially with these injuries. I really hope. Like you said, Bijan Robinson's going to be the guy every week, but we got to get Kyle Pitts involved. We drafted this guy fourth overall. I don't know if he's right. I know he was injured last year for a lot of the seasons. I don't know what's going on, why exactly he's been like this ultimate decoy, but the Falcons have got to figure that out. And hopefully they figure it out this week, because we talk about the Lions, and the Lions, they're one of the more exciting teams. They're kind of like the darlings of the NFL. Everyone's like, hopping on the bandwagon. And they definitely bring some chops offensively, but they were one of the worst defenses in the league last year. And Geno Smith had a field day. And especially with those injuries, this could be another game for Desmond Ridder and hopefully Kyle Pitts to keep building on that momentum, not just in the run game, because we're going to run the ball against anyone. I don't think there's any defense that's ever going to shut down the Falcons rushing attack all season. We're going to pound the rock. But for Desmond Ridder, Kyle Pitts, these receivers, it's another game, another opportunity where they can really build off, because this Lions secondary, and especially with the injuries, is definitely a vulnerable group.
Yeah, I think one area to watch specifically, and I thought the Falcons were going to have a really big test with this Packers rushing attack. They were missing Aaron Jones and David Bakhtiari, so we didn't get them at their best. But this Falcons defense hasn't had a true test like they're going to have against the Lions. And listen, I'm not saying Jared Goff's some world beater because he's not, but their offensive line is for real, and their rushing attack is for real. So this will be, up to this point, will be the best test for this new look Falcons defense. Because I thought we were going to get it with Green Bay, but all the injuries, their three best offensive players were missing: Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, and David Bakhtiari. All missing. So we didn't get them at their best. This Lions offense, it's going to look much different, even though they are missing one of their starting guards. So we might not get them at their strength either.
Yeah, it could be. This could be our first little track meet of the season. I mean, I know 25-24 against the Packers, there was definitely some offense, but this definitely has the potential to be. I mean, the Lions play high scoring games more often than not. And that's the way it's been over the last 2 seasons. So I'm very interested to see that. Obviously, the David Montgomery injury could. I mean, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a stud. I don't know why the Lions haven't made him more of a feature back, especially when you draft him 12th overall. I think he only had 7 carries last week. Yeah. And then he had like 7. He's only has like 14 carries this season. He's been used more as a receiver than he has. I'm interested to see, especially if David Montgomery is out, if they turn to him more as that bell cow back, because you draft a guy 12th overall. You're kind of expecting Bijan Robinson numbers.
Yeah, we're sitting here wondering, what are the Lions doing with Jahmyr Gibbs? The guy's a stud. You're drafting him 12th overall. And there's people on the opposite end in Detroit talking about the Lions and going, you drafted Kyle Pitts 4th overall. We love Kyle Pitts. Why don't you use Kyle Pitts? It's pretty funny. We need to use him, though.
I mean, I think this, if there was ever a week for him to get right, if there was ever a week for Kyle Pitts to get right, it's this week. Let's get him 9. Let's get him 100 yards. Let's get him back in the 100-yard range.
I think it's possible.
Coming up after the break, we're going to break down the SEC slate week